with all. So finding a comfortable seat wherever you are, rooting down into your sit bones, pressing your hands together in Anjali Mudra, and just observing your breath. We had an invitation to bring in meditation daily, even just 5 minutes. So just begin to inhale with an internal mantra of so, and exhale with hum. Inhale so, and exhale hum. Feeling the breath draw from about 9 inches in front of the nose as we inhale so, and exhale hum. Staying with this internal mantra, so on the inhale, hum on the exhale. If resistance or thoughts arise, and they will, just lovingly and gently for the next 2 minutes, come back to the breath and come back to the mantra. So on the inhale, and hum on the exhale. So on the inhale, and hum on the exhale. So on the inhale, and hum on the exhale. And as we begin to abide here in this space of breath and mantra, can you drop in a sankalpa, a seed intention? Sankalpa, the Sanskrit word for seed intention. In this stream of awareness, consciousness, where everything rises, abides, and dissolves. Everything begins in this place of intention, even dis-ease in the body. So drop in something you wish to see manifest, something you would like to receive from today's class, maybe a goal for the week, in the seed ground of awareness. Perhaps clarity, ease, wellness, love, abundance, kindness. And without holding on too tight, just let it dissolve into the ether, whatever the intention is. not holding it tightly, but simply letting it to dissolve through. No attachment. Letting it go like a balloon in the sky, getting smaller and smaller. And deepen the breath. And we'll begin with the chant for Lord Dhanvantri 7 times. Exhaling completely. Inhaling. Om Dhanvantra Mate Namaha. 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 Om Dhanvantra Mataye Namaha. Om Dhanvantra Mataye Namaha. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. And shall we begin? Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. All righty. So, as I mentioned, we're going to begin with our quiz. So, what I would like everyone to do, if they haven't already, grab a pen and paper because it's just multi-choice. I'm gonna read the questions and the answers, and you're going to write down your answer. So we all have a go at answering it, and then we will go through the answers just to see where we're all at. So, give you a quick minute to go grab a pen or a paper, or even if you've got the notes app on your phone or your computer, something that you can jot down the best answer. And like I said, it's going to be covering philosophy, elements, doshas, the dhatus, the shrotas, and a bit of pathology. So Jasmine kicked off module 5 last week, and I realized I hadn't uploaded it to the portal. So if you weren't on the call, I'm assuming you guys have not watched it because you didn't have access to it, but it is up there now. So module 5, the very first lesson. And then next week, we'll be continuing with Module 5, and the wonderful Helena will be teaching us from all the way from Brazil. Alrighty. So, the first question is from an Ayurvedic philosophical perspective, the root cause of suffering and therefore disease is A, weak digestive fire, B, accumulation of armor, C, misidentification of the self with the mind-body complex, or D, dosha imbalance. Okay, so it's from an Ayurvedic philosophical perspective on the root cause of disease. Okay, second question is, a client presents with dryness, anxiety, constipation, cracking joints, and a variable appetite. Which element is mostly expressed? A, fire, B, water, C, ether, or D, earth? Which element is mostly excessively expressed? Okay, question 3. Which subdosha is primarily responsible for mental digestion and emotional processing? A, Panchakapita, B, Sadakapita, C, Ranjakapita, or D,
Alachaka Pitta. So Panchaka, Sadaka, Ranjaka, or Alachaka. Or mental digestion. Okay, 4. A patient has a strong appetite, burning stools, irritability, and inflammatory skin eruptions. Their Agni is most likely A. Vishama, B. Manda Agni, C. Sama Agni, or D. Tikshna Agni. Number 5, which dhatu is most likely to be compromised in a patient with chronic anxiety, insomnia, and neurological depletion? So which dhatu? A. Mida, B. Maja, C. Rakta, or D. Mamza. So this dhatu is compromised in a patient with chronic anxiety, insomnia, and neurological depletion. Okay, 6. A thick white coating on the tongue with heaviness and lethargy most directly indicates A. A Rakta vitiation, B. Tikshna Agni, C. Ama in Anavahashrotas, or D. Ojas depletion. Thick white coating on the tongue, heaviness and lethargy most directly indicates. God, the painter's walking past me looking in. Oh my gosh. Okay, 7. And this is tricky because I'm just using Sanskrit. So I'm kind of like it's making it hard for you guys to start thinking in this new language that we're all speaking together. So don't be thrown off. Like I said, some of you at the very start, even like you could be 20 years in and some of the words you're like, what can, you forget. And that's okay. Number 7 is if Medo Vahasrota is obstructed. So Medo Vahasrota is obstructed. Which presentation is most likely? A. Anxiety and palpitations. B. Irregular menstruation. C. Obesity, insulin resistance, and sluggish metabolism. Or D. Chronic dry cough. So if the Medo Vahasrota is obstructed. Question 8. Vata spreads disease primarily because A, it produces heat, B, it governs transformation, C, it governs movement, or D, it nourishes tissues. So why does Vata primarily spread the disease? Question 9. A client with alternating constipation and diarrhea plus bloating and emotional instability most likely has which type of Agni? A. Manda Agni, B. Triksha Agni, C. Sama Agni, or D. Vishma Agni. Okay, question 10. A patient presents with painful, inflamed joints that worsen in cold weather. The tongue shows a thick coating and their digestion is sluggish. Which stage of samprapti, which is out the disease pathogenesis, is most likely occurring? A, is this a sign of dosha accumulation without tissue involvement? B, pure pitta lodged in rakta dhatu. C, ama combining with vata and localizing in ashti dhatu. Or D, ojas depletion in maja dhatu. Okay, it's only a couple more to go. So 11. Which best describes ojas? A, it's a byproduct of rakta. B, it's a type of agni. C, it's the refined essence of all dhatus. Or D, a kapha subdosha. Okay, two more to go. In Sankhya philosophy, which of the following evolves directly from Mahat, which is cosmic intelligence? So if we remember the Sankhya philosophy, so from Mahat comes A, the five gross elements, B, ahamkara, the ego principle, C, the doshas, or D, the dhatus. And the last question is, why does Ayurveda consider the microcosm and macrocosm inseparable? A, is it because humans are biologically similar to animals? Or B, because the same five elements govern the universe and the body? C, because doshas only exist in humans? Or D, because Agni controls climate? Okay. How do we feel we all went? Is it a thumbs up? Is it a, or is it a, how are we feeling? A bit like this?
Good.
Okay.
But can you repeat question 10? Because I missed it.
Question 10, sure.
Yes,
Qu
please.
Question 10 is, a patient presents with painful, inflamed, stiff joints that worsen in cold weather. The tongue shows a thick coating and digestion is sluggish. Which stage of samprapti, which is disease pathogenesis, is most likely occurring? A, dosha accumulation without tissue involvement. B, pure pitta lodged in rakta. C, ama combining with vata and localizing in asti dhatu. Or D, ojas depletion in maja dhatu.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So even by reading all of these quiz questions out, if anyone like the painters and scaffolding people outside are eavesdropping, they have no idea what we're talking about. So we can see how much of a new language this truly is when we start speaking in these terms alone. So oh yeah, I was just checking the chat. Was this Danny asking for question 10? Okay, so now we're going to go through all of the answers, and I would like some brave people to speak up. So, What was your answer for question one? From an Ayurvedic philosophical perspective, the root cause of suffering and therefore disease is. Somebody please share their answer. It's all a safe learning space, but I would want this to be interactive because we all learn from each other. Who's the brave first one?
From a philosophical perspective, was it C?
C. Yeah, it was. Yay.
So then it would be Ama if it was more from a physical perspective. Is that the
Yeah, so from this philosophical perspective, the root cause of suffering and therefore diseases. So this is really what we covered in philosophy, and we talked about that ignorance of self and the misidentification. The answer was C was misidentification of the self with the mind-body complex. So that's being ignorant to what the self needs. And a dosha imbalance is a downstream event of this. So when we have that ignorance of self, that's when those doshas become imbalanced because we're not doing the right thing by our constitution. And the deeper root of our doshic imbalance really is this misperception. And so we are identifying with thoughts, emotions, and physical form instead of like that pure awareness that we have the Mahat, which is that cosmic intelligence, but a down level of that is our buddhi mind, which is our internal intelligence. And so Ayurveda really treats the body, but its foundation, so that's what you're mentioning about like armor and these other physical aspects. Yes, it does treat the physical body, but its foundation is in the understanding of the self and sometimes having that misidentification. So yes, C was the correct answer. Would anyone like to comment if they got a different answer? Did anyone want to share their reasoning, or if you're like, nope, I don't agree, now's your chance. No? Okay. So let's move on to question 2. A client presents with dryness, anxiety, constipation, etc. What was the excessive element exposed here? Can someone shout out their answer?
Was it ether?
Yeah. So
E?
ether, yeah, beautiful. And I'd say ether with obviously a bit of air. We can see there's a lot of vata going on. We know ether and air create space and movement. And so when it's excessive, they create depletion, they create dryness, instability, and nervous system dysregulation. Okay, 3. The subdosha that's responsible for mental digestion and emotional processing.
Is it B? Sadaka?
Yes. Sadaka Pitta, perfect. So Sadaka Pitta, it governs that clarity, emotional processing, and when it's disturbed, we often will be experiencing our own self-doubt, or we can be really overcritical, and we get a lot of that emotional sort of heat rising. So then it can turn into sort of this irritability. Well done, guys. Loving this. Okay, 4.
Did Danny say D or B?
Danny said B, Sadaka
Okay.
Pitta.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just
Did you?
I couldn't understand whether she said B or D. Yeah.
Ah,
I couldn't remember whether Sadaka was B or D. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 4. So patient with a strong appetite, burning stools, irritability, inflammation, skin eruptions. If we are first looking at their Agni, what type of Agni would you think this person might present with? Who's calling out this one? Anybody? Suze, you got it?
I'd say Tikshna,
Tikshna, yep. So that was
which I
D.
think I had D, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So Tikshna Agni. So Tikshna Agni is that sharp, intense Agni. It digests really quickly, but it can burn the tissues. Yeah, Tikshna is sort of the Agni that's related to a typical Pitta type of digestion. It can also aggravate Rakta and create inflammation and different oh my gosh, inflammatory pathology. What's going on with me? A Vata imbalance, maybe? Something's going on. Yes, beautiful. Number 5. Which dhatu is most likely to be compromised in a patient with chronic anxiety, insomnia, and neurological depletion?
B. Marja.
B. Yeah, perfect. Maja dhatu, because it governs the nervous system and also the marrow. And so when we see like a lot of chronic vata aggravation, that will deplete the Maja dhatu, and that can lead to insomnia, anxiety, etc. Wonderful. Okay, 6. A thick white coating on the tongue with heaviness and lethargy most directly indicates. Over to you guys. Just a reminder, the answers was Rapta vitiation, Tikshna Agni, Ama in Anavaha Shrota, or Ojas depletion. Like seriously, if anyone was eavesdropping, they would have no idea what we're talking about. We're speaking in code here.
I'm just sort of guessing, but was it C?
Yeah. And what made you guess C?
Just because of the armor piece.
Yeah. And you're right. Yes. Yeah. So the white coating, yeah, kapha type of armor. And when it's in the digestive tract, it blocks the Anavaha Shrota. So it's like the food Shrota. And it prevents proper tissue formation because we've got like the armor in there, dampening everything.
So I just
Now,
found a way to remember. I had that right, but it was because of the same piece, the armor. But I just found a way to remember the Anavaha Shrota is the Anamaya Kosha, which is the food body. So it's the Anamaha
yeah.
Shrota. Okay, cool. Just
Yeah.
connecting. If anyone out there is more, yogic trained,
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought I'd
Because
share that.
the Anna's like the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food pipe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, 7. If Medovaha Shrota is obstructed, which presentation is most likely? What answer did somebody get?
I got C,
C?
obesity.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. Because we look at Medo, we know that the Meda dhatu is like fat. So we know Meda Vaha Shrota is like the fat Shrota. And so it governs, it's when you start breaking down the words, you can kind of just like, oh yeah, click onto what it is. And so it governs the fat tissue and our lipid metabolism. And any obstruction will lead to metabolic syndrome type presentations. And when we look at metabolic syndrome types, that's, insulin resistance, weight gain, all of those type of things. So yes, correct. Okay. 8, Vata spreads disease primarily because, what did we get, guys?
See the movement?
Yes. We know that Vata's main sort of characteristic is movement, and it can move disease into all different areas of the body. And so also Vata's mobility and its mobile nature, it pushes the other doshas into their new sites because it needs, those other doshas needs Vata sort of behind them, moving and pushing for them to go into these new sites where they start getting aggravated and accumulate, and then we see it as either Pitta or Kapha disease. But Vata is always sort of one that sort of pushes and moves it into that new site where the disease manifests. And that's why it's often the driver behind the disease progression. So a lot of our a lot of preventative measures really look at sort of managing the vata. Okay, 9. A client with alternating constipation and diarrhea that also has some bloating and emotional instability is most likely to have which type of Agni? So if we can think of like the dosha presentation and what that sort of dosha Agni sort of represents, it's either Manda, Tikshna, Sama, or Vishma. What are we thinking? So it's variable. It's alternating constipation, diarrhea. There's bloating. There's a bit of emotional instability. It's a variable Agni.
I said B, but I don't know if that's right or not.
B, thank you for your answer. B was Tikshna. So Tikshna is more the Pitta type, so the
That's
hyperacidity,
what
the
I thought.
hyperburn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Is it D?
it is. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Vishama.
It was B or D.
Vishama.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So Vishma is more the Vata type.
yeah,
And Vishma, irregularity.
yeah.
That's the Agnis, yeah. And so really when we're treating Vishma Agni, we really need stability and rhythm. So eating meals at a similar time, like all of those type of things. Yes. So 10, we had a patient that presents with painful, inflamed, stiff joints, but it becomes worse in cold weather. And the tongue also shows a thick coating and their digestion's a bit sluggish. What is the stage of Samprapti or the pathogenesis that's most likely occurring? Are we thinking that, or does anyone have the answer? It's a little bit of a
I can
tricky one.
have a go if no one else
Yeah.
wants to. I'm thinking Amma with Vata, but only because I'm thinking that it is in the tissues when it has painful, inflamed joints.
Yeah. Yeah, so the C was Ama combining with Vata, that's localizing in the Asti Dhatu. And we know the Asti Dhatu is essentially the joints, the bones. So yes, that's right. So Vata, so we can see that they've had like this sort of Manda Agni, this sluggish digestion, and it's created Ama. And then Vata has moved or mobilized the Ama into its vulnerable tissues, which is often the joints, because the joints are a seat of Vata. And then we know that cold, excessive cold, will also aggravate Vata and it can worsen the symptoms. So we've got Vata moving the armor into the joints, we've got excessive cold, and then the symptoms becoming worse because there's aggravation in the joint tissue. Correct. Okay. We've only got 2. We had 2 more. So 11, which best describes Ojas? Is there someone different that would like to come forward with their answer? Ojas. Okay, I'll take anyone. I'll take anyone.
I don't remember what that was, but
Sorry, did you say C or D? C?
yeah.
You are correct. Ojas is the final essence of tissue refinement. So C was the refined essence of all the dhatus. So remember we spoke about some texts talk about it being like the 8th dhatu, whereas some are like, no, it's just the subtle essence of dhatu. I lean towards it's the subtle essence of the all of the dhatus. It's not really a dhatu. So, there is discussions within Ayurveda where there's different schools of thoughts and lineages. But basically, the conclusion is that it is the refined essence of all of the dhatus. And when we're talking about it from an essence perspective as well, it is the subtle essence of kapha. So there was a tricky one in there. It said a kapha subdosha. So it's certainly not a subdosha, but we do know that ojas is related to kapha. So it was a bit of a tricky one to determine. Yeah, so, and then also if we think of without a really good strong Agni, we don't get the full proper beautiful formation of the dhatus, and therefore ojas is either declined or isn't like the ultimate ojas, because it's the refined essence of all of the dhatus. Okay, so oh no, we had two more questions now. So we had two philosophy questions. So in Sankhya philosophy, which of the following evolves directly from Mahat, the cosmic intelligence? What, who wants to come forward with their answer?
B, ahamkara.
B. Yeah. B. Yeah, so we've got, remember, Purusha, that the consciousness, and then we've got Prakriti, which is manifest creation, comes into Mahat, and Mahat goes to Ahamkara, the subtle elements, and then the gross elements. So beautiful. Now, the last question was, why does Ayurveda consider the microcosm and the macrocosm inseparable?
I had B. I can't remember the answer, but
Yep, so B was because the same 5 elements govern both the universe and the body.
yeah.
Yeah. And did anyone have anything else, any different? Or so B is correct, and it's because we see the body as a miniature universe, right? Things like seasonal shifts, climate, age, time of day, they all influence our doshas, and they are governed by the same elemental laws as the universe. And that's why lifestyle medicine is so central to Ayurveda, because a lot, not us, of course, but a lot of human race have forgotten that we are nature. We're part of nature. We're not separate from. And so the universal laws that govern the universe govern our little universe as well. Well done, guys. That was amazing. How do we all feel? Was it an interesting way to learn some of the concepts? It makes you think instead of just listening and taking all the information in. It gets you thinking, and it's absolutely fine if you didn't get even one of them right, because again, it was like I was speaking French to you. I was using a lot of the Sanskrit terms on purpose. And so a lot of you are very new to this. It is a really nice way to revise what we have gone through and what we have learned in maybe different ways. So yeah, you guys all did amazing there. That was awesome to show how much you've learned. Yeah, I love that, Danny. It was a really good test to show how much you've learned, because often we can also think on the flip side, we can think, oh, I don't know nothing. Like I'm just constantly, it feels like I'm always learning. And then you can answer a majority of those questions. And for the new people, even if you could answer one of those questions, you're like, boom, I have been learning. Like this is making sense. So it's a really, really good reflection. Yeah, did anyone have any questions regarding those questions and answers? Any disputes, any conversations they want to have about it? Like I said, there's different lineages and different ways we learn Ayurveda as well. So some of us might have different understandings of things, and we're always open for discussion. All right. Well, if not, thank you, everybody. I'm going to hand you over to our wonderful Jasmine.
Thanks, Harmony. That was so good.
You're
Loved
welcome.
it. Even now, like when you hear the questions, you like it's so nice to be able to be like, oh, that's that. And you will get to that place. And today I'm going to give you some tools to help support putting all of this information that might be a little bit scattered at this point in a document and or a way to understand it. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And so this, I've actually just updated this a little bit for the pathology charting. So it is available right now on the Facebook page, but I'll update this a revised version for you so that you can use this. So this is a tool that brings all the information that we've learned in the modules so far and a little bit of the modules that are coming that you can keep with you while you are studying, and it will also test your knowledge. This will be very much, it won't be in this format, but if you know all of this information, then you'll be able to do your midterm with this information. So this is also a midterm review. And so this is a foundation study guide. This study guide, I highly recommend printing out multiple times and testing yourself to fill it in. So it's reviewing all of the information so far. And obviously, we begin with the 10 pairs of opposites. And again, this is foundational information. But sometimes, if you have it close to you, you print it out, you're doing your charting, you're looking up these pathologies, this is a really beautiful way for you to use this. And I'm going to show you how. So I filled this is the only one I filled in for you, okay? Because getting used to those Sanskrit terms, you should make flashcards out of these terms. So having English and then the Sanskrit, and then knowing them as opposites as well. So this is a foundational part of Ayurveda. It's from these 10 pairs of opposites, the gunas, that we go into our doshas, the elements and the locations of them, right? So we know what the elements are, but this right here, we're working towards charting. This whole study guide is so that you can look at the pathology of dis-ease and the root cause, and how then from there we can apply the right elemental qualities or the doshic qualities to bring balance through the term, like increases, like, and opposites bring balance. So here you would fill this in with the dosha, the elements that dosha is made up of. What does vata? What is vata made up of? This is elemental, foundational. Someone call it out.
Air and ether.
Air and ether. And pitta
Fire and water.
and kapha.
Water and earth.
Correct. And then you'd put in your chief location of these doshas and then the chief symptoms. Because remember, we're coming back to the charting of it. So this whole document is to support you charting and understanding pathology. So here we go into the subdosha locations for Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So here you would literally come in here. You're going to be able to be required to do this. So you would come in and you'd fill in the Vata subdoshas and the location in the body. Or for Vata, it's the movement in the body, right? So for Pitta, the subdosha, the location in the body, kapha, the subdosha, and the location in the body. So you fill all of this in so that you can reference it if you are doing your charting. I'm like, okay, so that's vata, the subdosha, and the location in the body or the direction of the movement in the body. So all of a sudden, this whole chart becomes something that you can see the progression. So the whole point of this foundational exercise is for you to understand the gunas and the qualities, the elements, the doshas, right? The subdoshas. You see how we're drilling down the chief location and home of those of the doshas in the body and the chief symptoms of the body. So we move through this document and then we
Can I
go
ask a
to
question?
yes, my
Can I
dear.
ask a question? Just
Yeah.
on the diagrams, on the dosha, the sub-doshas, are those diagrams meant to relate to Vata, Pitta, Kapha? Because they're all the same?
Yeah, they're all the same. You just kind of like move the little arrow to their location.
Okay.
But most of the time, there is something in the digestion, something in the mind, on the skin. So, but just move the little arrow
Okay.
to that. Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Then the dhatus. What does dhatu mean?
Tissue.
Tissue. All right. So, and then upadhatu. What is the upadhatu? What is the mala?
Waste.
The waist.
Yeah. So you would go through all of that, put that in, and any notes you want to put in here. This is a study guide, guys. So this is so that you can, right now you each chapter we've layered on and we've layered on. And so how do we bring it all together? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go the shrotas. What are the shrotas?
Channels.
The channels.
In the body, yeah. And then you put the body systems that they are associated with. So you fill this in, you test your knowledge, you get to a point where you can literally fill this in, and it would be an exam. If I were to give this to you and say, hey, this is your midterm, you would be able to recall it. And your flashcards should come from this as well, so that you can support your understanding of the Sanskrit terms, but also the shrotas. I mean, also the systems themselves. Helen will be talking about this in more detail. You've already heard it in the very first lesson, but she'll be going into the rhythm of Ayurveda at the back end of this module, and the rhythm of age and the doshas. So you'll be filling all of this in. Why is this important? Because when we understand these aspects of rhythm and flow of life, of the seasons, we can understand that there's either going to be more of an aggravation to particular doshas and symptoms, because we're going, so if you add more heat to a pitta symptom, so it's some middle of summer and they live in like the hottest climate ever, what are we going to get? We're going to get more of an aggravation. And so understand, and if someone has a Vata imbalance and they're also in the Vata time of life, what are we going to get? More of an aggravation of Vata. So understanding these rhythms of life are very, very important in determining how aggravated that dosha is becoming because of the surroundings. This is why Ayurveda works so beautifully, guys. Once we understand that flow and that rhythm and that energy of all of the elemental qualities that we embrace through our senses, then we're able to determine how to bring balance in it, because like increases like and opposites bring balance. So, we can't ask someone to move to a different state or go somewhere cooler, but we will understand what is at play, and we'll be able to bring in more cooling qualities or more, of what is needed to be able to bring that sense of balance. Then from here we have the climate that aggravates each of the doshas. This is coming up next. And we look at the Agni, guys. So we'll always look at the quality of the person's Agni. So we'll also go into that. The Samna Agni, the Tikshna Agni, the Manda Agni, the Vishma Agni, all impact the doshas, our appetite, our weight. And when we understand the characteristics of that Agni, then we know where to start in protocol for the client. Is it all coming together? Something that isn't on the sheet is Ojas, but we will layer onto that as we move through the chapters. So I ask you here to define Agni as you would explain it to a client, as you need to define Ojas as you would explain it to a client, because they're such important characters to and I guess topics to be able to share with your clients and their understanding so that they can begin to bring in the same wisdom themselves. Our goal is not to be the healer. Our goal is to provide the clients with the ability for their body to heal itself, right? For the ability for them, and we do that through education and for them to understand what we know as that wisdom. So if people start to think about their Agni as a way to bring their body back into balance, then we're teaching them to create the environment for their body to heal itself. So we all saw this last week, and if you haven't seen the recordings, this will be on the class from last week. This is really understanding the root cause of disease, the stages of disease, and the administration of treatment or protocols. We should probably change that too. And so, and these protocols, can be anything from lifestyle changes, nutrition, herbals. It could be changing environment, adding temperatures. We look at all of that. So we looked last week at the accumulation aggravation stage, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a minute, when looking at the charting of pathology. So accumulation and aggravation are a natural kind of stage of the doshic rhythm. So the doshas have their own sense of rhythm. Like I said last week, everything is rising, abiding, and dissolving. So are the doshas. And if they don't come out of aggravation and go into kind of like, I guess alleviation is the word. If they don't go down into alleviation, they're going to go into overflow. The beautiful things about when something is in that accumulation and aggravation stage, herbal medicines are designed to prevent that overflow. So are diet and lifestyle. And so we really work with the digestive system and the Agni in this accumulation and aggravation stage so that we can alleviate it. This is when we want to be able to hear the whispers of our body, right? We hear the little grumblings. And so if we can, if it might be hypersensitivity, it could be diarrhea, or it might be dryness, or a little constipation, like anything that's like showing you, I've got a little bit of aggravation here. They're usually things that in modern day people are, oh yeah, they don't give it too much issue. They're like, yeah, I've got heartburn again. Well, actually, your body's trying to tell you something. And so if we can actually get at this accumulation aggravation stage, we can alleviate it through these methods. Overflow. So overflow, we see that it's in the digestive system and it's in the circulatory system. And we want to restore it with diet and lifestyle. We can also use herbal medicines as well at this stage to support bringing it back into homeostasis. Then we go into relocation, manifestation, and diversification. And this is where we treat the site of relocation, circulation, and the roots in the digestive system. So we restore diet and lifestyle again, but we also have to start to look at it from there's something wrong. So this right here is just understanding the inner and outer pathways of disease and the central pathways of disease. So this right here asks you to take a look at that, and it tells us how easy something or hard something is to treat. And when we say treat, like we're talking about applying balance back to the body's ability to heal itself. So here you've got the inner, outer, and central pathways.
And can I just butt in and say, where it says difficult to treat, that's also can be translated to just longer to treat as well. So we
Yes.
don't like, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So difficult, and it's all relative, right? So difficult to
Yeah.
treat might be a couple of weeks, right? It might be longer. It may be like, oh, everybody's different too. So how it manifests in one person isn't how it manifests in others. You will also have to consider people's Agni, people's Ojas, people's resiliency to disease. So this is a kind of an overview of that, but what you want to keep in the back of the mind as an understanding of the pathway of disease in the body. Any other questions there? And did you have anything else you wanted to say, Harm?
And no, I was just saying like some things are extremely difficult to treat, but there's always hope, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's difficult as that it's not able to be treated. It just might take a longer time. It might take more invasive, not invasive, but like say a panchakarma or something more inclusive treatment protocols.
Correct. Yeah. And this obviously doesn't replace what our clients are working on with their doctors and things like that. It's literally the supportive wisdom to help wherever they are. And we'll learn more about this, especially level 2. And level 1, this isn't as much um, uh, you know, as it's important to know the basis of it, but we're only going to be working on that lifestyle like aspect. Once you go to level 2, then we take it up a notch. But this is just the basic understanding. Amanda, I saw you had your hand up, and I would like to introduce you to everyone too. So,
Hi.
hi. So we have Amanda just joined us. So welcome, Amanda.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify. So when you're talking about difficult to retreat, probably what it's more referring to, is it chronic? More, so it's been there longer, so it's going to take longer to clear up. Is that what you're saying
Yeah,
about?
so basically it's deeper in the body's tissues. So it's no longer in the digestive system. It has relocated, manifest, and diversified into what is usually known as a Western medical term. So yes, it could be chronic. It doesn't have to be chronic,
Yeah.
but yes, chronic is part of that, but it's not always chronic, but definitely
For,
could.
for an extreme example, constipation and then a bowel obstruction.
Yeah.
So the difficult,
Yeah.
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 Gotcha. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I
Again,
ask a question?
yes, love it.
Sorry, I haven't found where to put the little hand up. Someone might
That's
have to
okay.
educate me.
In the
Just with labeling inner, outer, central, am I referencing the tree? So inner would be AA, central would be the O, and outer would be the manifestation of the disease.
Correct.
Is that
Yeah. The
that's what
RMD.
inner,
Yeah.
outer, central is?
Yeah. If
Central
you
is
give me
like traveling.
yeah, is traveling. No, inner, outer, and then central. Yes. So you can kind of see where is it down here? Um I'll show you so you've got a picture. So here you've got your accumulation aggravation uh here, and then you've got your overflow, and then you've got your central. So you have your past, possible past and mild and transient, and then your relocation, diversification. I was just looking at something here that I think would help you even more. Let me see if I can share it with you. So here, it's not it, stop share. Um, so in our slides, you can see that. I'm just going to bring them up for you. Hold on one second.
Yes,
I
please.
need a degree in screen sharing. Getting there slowly but surely. Especially when
Helena's
switch.
got her hand up while you're finding that.
Yeah,
Do
do you want to?
you say something, Helena?
Um, just want to say that these terminologies, when we say treatable, not treatable, easy to treat, it's something that we bring from the texts, the classical texts. So these terminologies are there. And we even see that sometimes there are diseases or imbalances that are treatable, but not curable. So we have even one other classification of the disease that is even worse, I would say, that are the diseases that are treatable but not curable. So, and these come off from the Charak Samhita. That's what I'm sure that is described there. These four types of disease: easy to cure, not easy,
Yeah.
treatable but not curable. So it's something that comes from these tests, and sometimes it's not easy to understand because it's not our way of classifying that. It's just something that comes from the book.
Yeah, thank you. That's so true. And a lot of our slides come straight from the text. The language is quite masculine and like black and white versus like what we're used to speaking about. And they do talk about treat and curable, incurable. And sometimes it's hard to swallow the way that it's said or understand it and dissect it. So thank you so much for mentioning that, Helena. In your slides, I've got two screens coming up here, so I'm not able to switch over to that screen right now. But in your slides, there's a beautiful picture that I had help with the notebook create. So the central disease pathway is the RMD, and the outer disease is the overflow, and the inner disease is the accumulation and aggravation. But you can see it really beautifully pictured in the slides. If you want to step back into the slides from last week.
What
Um,
number slide is it? I can probably.
Looks like, yeah, maybe you can bring it up because I've got the two screens. Uh, Slide, come on, guys.
16?
Yeah, the pretty tree. Yep, that's the one. Can you share that, huh?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Um,
This one?
yeah, that one. So if you look at this, you can see the inner disease pathway, and you can see there you have your accumulation and your aggravation. And then you go into the outer disease pathway, and this is where you've got your basically the overflow. And then it starts to move into the central disease pathway. And in this outer disease pathway, you've got your rasa and your rakta, right? So it's in the rasa, it's in the blood, it's circulation, it's in the lymph. It's moving, it's about to be relocated if we don't bring any degree of alleviation to it. So that's where it then moves into the central disease pathway, where it either, it is harder to treat, becomes either chronic, or you could even have like a really a trauma. Like there could be any, or that's the piece that has that Western medical term. Okay. So this is something that you can go back and look at. And I'm going to share my screen back again. Allow, and go back to this share. All right, so here I want to start to bring this all into play. So the whole purpose of reviewing all of this is to understand that this document right here is for you to fill in, use as a tool for the charting. And we haven't even actually gotten to the charting yet, because we're going to be doing our next module is all about diagnostics, right? So looking at the palms, looking at the tongue, looking at all of the different diagnostic tools that we have. And so this is building you up to have all the information you need in order to understand and read what you are going to see in those diagnostic tools that we are going to be providing. So This is just a review of what you're going to be looking at from, and this is just your homework, like a homework review slash exam review. So you go in, fill all of this out, and what I want to show you next is that's all for you to do the prognosis review. So cool, common Ayurvedic students practice meditation daily. This is again that hard to treat, easier to treat. This is where we're going to understand if we can still access the ability to work with specific disease management in the central pathway, in the outer pathway, or in the inner pathway. So that is something that we take into consideration. It's not the final say so. The beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that it allows us to look at all of the systems, the body, the mind, the spirit, and also how we're receiving those elemental qualities in through our senses. And so this is very much about that. We haven't done this yet. All right. This is in the next chapter, but it's on your study guide. So the whole purpose of me showing this to you is for you to go pull it from the portal, download it, print it off, start filling it in, and keep it with you as you do your homework, as you see your clients, so that you can determine. Eventually, this will tell you what herbs to use, what your sensory therapies to use, what diet they'll need. So all of this is being created so that you'll be able to work with your clients one-on-one to support them. So now we're going to go into the charting, which you've probably seen a little bit of, and I know some of you are struggling with it. So I wanted to give you a higher overview of that. When we are charting, we are looking for first that past hospital, mild, transient aspect of it. So let me read this to you. So in Ayurvedic theory, all symptoms develop through a predictable and sequential progression of stages. The initial phases, the accumulation and the aggravation, are considered physiological processes within a spectrum of doshic fluctuation. It is normal for the doshas to fluctuate. Right? It is normal for that to happen. That everything is rising and abiding. Everything has a spanda, a pulse. Everything is inhaling and exhaling. The doshas are no different. So during these stages, the deviations from like the equilibrium are subtle and often predictable only to the individuals with refined awareness. So what I'm saying here is that a lot of people don't even hear those little whispers or naggles that the body tells them, right? Unless you have an awareness, unless you have that subtle awareness around it. So during this, like for this reason, the early indicators are described using terminology such as possible, past, or mild, right? Is it really happening? Is it possible? Is it something from the past or is it mild? Reflecting their preliminary and often transient nature. So at this point, overt pathology has not yet fully established itself, and many patients or clients may report no clear disturbance. Even though there's a niggle, there's no clear disturbance. They know something's wrong, but they don't know what it is. Then the next stage is overflow. And this overflow presents the first definitive pathological transition. So here, the aggravated dosha exceeds its primary site and begins to basically circulate systematically through the rasa and the rakta. So clinical presentation at this stage typically includes mild and transient systematic signs and symptoms. Although more observable than those of the prior stage, these manifestations may still be overlooked due to their non-specific or fluctuating character. Okay, so if unaddressed, the pathological process progresses to relocation, manifestation, and ultimately diversification. And there's a complication, right? So during relocation, the migrating dosha lodges in a susceptible tissue. So we all have like areas of our body that are susceptible to disease. And so that will, it's not always the case, but often the case. We all have an area that like you will land for us. Some it might be a coffee chest, or it might be dry skin. It's often something that reoccurs in us since the beginning of our like birth. So here it's more observable. Sorry. So here it's like the stage of manifestation. It's clinically recognizable. This is what I'm saying by it has this Western medical term and with distinct and diagnosable features. So diversification reflects further progression wherein complications or secondary conditions can arise and the symptomology becomes increasingly pronounced and differentiated. So it is essential to understand that the structural progression through accumulation, aggravation, and overflow follows consistent principles across all conditions, regardless of the specific dosha or tissue involved. Mastery of these foundational stages, which is what we're trying to give you right here, and characteristic patterns associated with each is fundamental to the Ayurvedic assessment and clinical practice. So students therefore are expected to commit to these charts and stage correlations to memory as a core component of your training. Or as what I'm about to provide you is a list of all of them that you can reference. Because sometimes you just need, as you are learning, what they are. Okay, so this right here is the foundational understanding of charting this pathology. Over time, you will actually just know it and feel it, and you won't need to reference these charts. But if you've never done this before and you don't know, how to actually unfold the root cause of disease, this gives you a tool to get there. There's a degree of intuition, there's a degree of asking the right questions, there's understanding all of the things that are above on this foundational study review. If you can take all of that into consideration when sitting down and meeting with a client, it's going to point you in the right direction. All right. I had a call with a student last week, and we were going through a client, and one of the biggest questions is what age of life are they in? What age of life in there? Because what is presenting has a massive impact on their, like, what stage of life are they in? And are they in the Vata stage of life? Are they in the Pitta stage of life? Are they, in the Kapha stage of life? Because if we don't take that into consideration, we might be looking at it in the wrong way. So we want to look at all of these aspects that we are reviewing right here on this foundation study review. Here is a high level look at the stages of development. You've got accumulation is a subtle buildup of the dosha, and it's often unnoticed. You've got aggravation. The dosha increases beyond normal, and there's a subtle but detectable like sign. Then you've got your overflow, and this is your first pathological stage where it's mild and transient and there's systemic signs. And then you've got the relocation where the dosha moves to the weaker tissues and the symptoms localize. And then the manifestation, the clear disease expression with recognizable condition, and then the diversification where there's complications and secondary conditions can arise. And that happens so often, especially when people are taking medication, right? So someone takes a medication for a symptom, and then all of a sudden they've got other symptoms because we haven't actually treated the root cause. And that's the beauty of Ayurveda. I think that's part of the beauty of Ayurveda and why I love it so much, and why it's the healing tool and the missing part, in my personal opinion. Here's the abbreviation key that you'll need for this training. You won't always have to go back to this. At some point, you'll just know. But you're going to see 100 clients in level 2. 100 visits, right? And by the end of that, you will have such confidence. But just give yourself some grace now that you're learning the very foundations. And many of you may not go on to level 2, and you won't, you'll just want to stay in that lifestyle sector and integrate it into other things that you know. That's fine too. But understanding this helps you, even within yourself and your family, understand this pathway of disease so that we can bring balance in it. Alleviation, right? Opposites bring balance. Always go back to the qualities and the gunas. Go back to the elemental qualities and that it's not difficult. So don't get afraid by the terminology in Sanskrit, all of this, because even with this, we're still going back to the gunas. We're still going back to those qualities. So here's our abbreviation we'll be using on our charting. AAO, PPM, MT, RMD. So these are some abbreviations that you'll see. So RMD is basically the presentation of the disease. All right. Is it mild and transient, or is it past, possible, or mild? Well, when you look at the doshas, they're always the same in the beginning. And from there, you get your RMD. So for your dosha pathology table for Vata, you'll want to memorize this. And I've put it in here twice in blank above so that you can go in and fill this out. For Vata, your aggravation and accumulation stage is past, possible, and mild, constipation, and gas. In the Vata dosha, the Apana subdosha of the Rasa Dhatu, it's a decrease of it in the Purusha Vaha Shrota. Then in the overflow, you've got mild and transitory systematic dryness of Vata in the Vyana subdosha of the Rasa Dhatu, and it's a decrease of the Rasa Vaha Shrota. Right? And then you've got another overflow here of mild and transitory, feeling cold and fatigue, which is different than lethargy. In the Vata subdosha, the Vyana subdosha, the Rakta Dhatu, which is your blood, right? So that's the feeling cold and fatigue, and it's a decrease in the Rakta Vaha Shrota. So Pitta is the same. So you memorize these as the beginning of your RMD charting. All right. And it may be that they only have an aggravation stage. So they might have past, possible, or mild burning, indigestion, and loose stools. And it stops there. They haven't gone into a relocation manifestation yet. And that's fine too. But you'll be able to track this through. So you'll memorize this, but you'll also see, as you're remembering the pathology here, you'll also see that anything that is burning, indigestion, loose stools, burning mucous membranes, feeling warm and intense, pitta, right? Kapha, sluggish digestion and nausea, systematic water retention, lethargy and pale complexion, all kapha, right? So these are all pointers of the doshas coming into aggravation, accumulation, possibly overflow. Can you see how the qualities of each of the doshas are here in this in the symptoms?
Sorry, Jasmine, can I just ask? I'm just looking at Vata, and when you've got the feeling cold and fatigue, and so the Rakta is so the Rasa is the blood, yeah?
No, rasa is the lymph and the
The lymph,
fluid.
okay, and
Yeah,
Rakta is
and
the
then
blood.
Rakta's blood.
Okay, and so where the decrease, I'm just getting clarification because the subdoshas I'm not really, across a lot of it. But with regards to the decrease, so if that's the decrease in, we're talking air and space, is that what's going to increase the cold? or is it an increase of air and space that's increasing the cold? I'm just
Yeah, so it's actually the Rakta. So you're decreasing that blood. Like it's in the Rakta Vaha Shrota, in the Shrota itself, not necessarily the elemental qualities of because we were talking about it's a Viyana Vayu. So the subdosha is a movement, so it's a decrease of that flow of movement, which is the cold symptom coming up.
so can you say that again? The Viyana, just go back to that.
Viana is systematic movement, Viana, right?
Yeah.
So like it's systematic movement. So it's a decrease in that subdosha, which is a decrease of movement, which is creating cold.
Okay. Okay. All right, cool.
Because it's a decrease or increase of the dhatu, not necessarily the dosha.
Okay, so that's what that's referring to is the decrease in the Rakta.
Yeah. And with a decrease of blood flow, then you're getting that coldness
Yep.
and
Okay.
fatigue. Yeah.
Yep.
And when you go back and do the modules, because I know you haven't done some of them, Amanda has done Ayurveda before, so she definitely has a background. And you're a naturopath as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you'll understand like with the Vata dosha, the subdoshas of Vata are all about movement. So it's a decrease of movement.
Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, and then now I've given you this amazing chart. And this right here is going to support you under learning. It's not, and you can memorize it if you want. You don't need to. I just like I could look it up or you start to understand. So this is more for a reference for you guys. So these are they're not necessarily in. You've got them as different systems. So weight gain is kapha dosha in the avalambaka kapha of the Medas dhatu. It's an increase of that tissue in the Meda Vaha Shrota. All right, so this will start to bring it there. So this would be your RMD line. So we all start here, and then there'll be a line under here that will basically say RMD. And so this would be these are all your RMD lines that could be most of them are here. I couldn't imagine there isn't one that's here. But you'll be able to use this to be able to track it. Why are we doing this? Because when we know what tissue is being impacted, and if it's an increase and a decrease, we know how we can bring it back into balance. We know what herbs to use. We're going to layer onto this. So just trust the process and understand this. But you can see weight loss is Vata in the Samana subdosha, right? And it is in the Medas Dhatu. It's a decrease in the Meda Vahashrota. And we keep going. We keep going through each one of these circulatory, the Raktavaha Shrota. You've got anemia, burnout, fatigue, intensity, lethargy, temperature cold, temperature warm. And you'll start to understand these RMD lines. Who has a problem right now they'd like to look at? Anybody have something like one of these in here that they'd like to look at?
I've got a question. How to
Yeah.
tell the difference between fatigue and lethargy? I'm just looking at it.
It's a great question. So fatigue is a Vata issue, and lethargy is a Kapha issue. Lethargy is often to do with the mind. The Mano Vahashrut, it's a
Say that
lack of
again.
get up. It's often to do with the mind, not always, but often to do with the mind, or it's stagnation in the body. So lethargy is that you
Sorry.
don't have, sorry?
So did you say fatigue is more of the mind?
No, no, no. So
Lethargy.
lethargy is more of the mind and stagnation in the body. Stagnation in having that get up and go, having the ability to like it's not depression, but there's a degree of being able to really get up and go, to have that inspiration, to want to go out for a walk and be excited by life. But there is a physiological aspect to lethargy, but fatigue is is tiredness. It's usually a lack of energy in the body based on many different reasons. It could be overexertion, but fatigue is vata, lethargy is kapha, and there's a difference. Harmony, would you have a good way to say it?
I think that's fatigue. For me, fatigue feels like when you've been overconsumed, overwork. If you think of like you've done a really big, fast hit workout, or you've been doing like lots of work and you're overconsuming thoughts, you feel at the end, you just feel so fatigued, so tired.
Yeah.
And lethargy is like that sort of lower, like a bit of lack of motivation comes into it, just slow moving, like
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
heavy feeling. I guess. And like, yeah, a lot of the symptoms are heaviness in the body, but also heaviness in the head, which leads to that lethargy.
Yeah. I also explained it the other day, with lethargy, I often feel like there is something that is being avoided. And so it creates a blockage and stagnation in the mind and
Like
ability to,
lack of motivation sort of thing as
yeah,
well. I feel
yeah,
like that's how I've been like the last few days. I just feel a bit like, ugh. And it's not fatigue.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I can get up and go for a walk and I'm fine if I'm out in the elements just doing, but then when it comes to other things, I'm like, ugh.
Aw.
So I feel good today. It's changed. I think
Yeah.
Andrea's got a hand up as well.
Go ahead, Andrea. Oh, you figured
Look,
it out. Good girl.
I did. I figured it out. Yes, I was playing around. Quick question. I just want to go back a couple of steps with where we start off, where every dosha
Yeah.
starts off the pathological summary there. So is this because we always start with the digestive system? Is that why? Is that? Am I getting this correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You're always, can you see that we're in the rasa or the rakta pretty much, right? Which is like you're in the digestive system, which are the doshas, which is that, it's the inner, outer, and central pathways, essentially.
Mm.
See how it's all
So
coming together?
potentially you're starting off with a symptom down here, but working your way back to get to maybe
Correct.
this dosha
Yes,
that has imbalance in the body.
correct.
Is that,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah. We're always going to assume that the root cause of disease, we're tracing it back through the rasa and the rakta. We're tracing it back to the digestive roots. And it always helps point us in the right direction. So how does it overflow? It overflows through the rasa and the rakta,
Mhm.
So that's what this is sharing with us.
So this is where our questioning with our client is imperative to hone in on the circulatory and the digestive system to
Correct.
begin with.
Yeah. To begin with. Yeah. This is
To
a
begin with,
rudimentary
and then
way.
yeah.
Yes. And as you become more astute and more trained and see more clients, this will be second nature. Right now, it's like, okay, we're giving you a system to be able to work with clients and understand how to get to the root cause of
Yeah.
their imbalance in their body. And I really try to stay away from the terminology treat, even disease, even though I know we have to use it sometimes. We try and look at we're getting to the root cause of imbalance in the body so that and we're working from it from an Ayurvedic terminology, right? If you Ayurveda is such a complete system that you could speak entirely in Sanskrit and get to the root cause of disease. It's that powerful. It really, really is.
I'm
So
really excited for this. It's all starting to make more sense.
yeah. Amanda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, look, I was going to say, is there any chance we could work through a case? And I know we're not vets. Because I'm working on a few things with my fur baby, and I was curious because there's a fair few things going on, and just not go into it into a lot of depth, but just see if that can be a case where we look at some of these qualities and some of these symptoms, and I don't know. I'm curious of you
We'll
and Harmony what you.
Yeah, so we won't do that today because but I do want to get back to that with you because I'm actually this is a review, and if you go through the other the other like modules, you'll see cases being reviewed, but we're going to get to a case um uh, probably next week or the week after, and start to put all of this into play. So right now what I wanted to do for all of the students is review this in detail from a pathology charting. And then what we'll do, I'm going to also bring up our intake sheet in a minute. And what I will have you do, Amanda, is fill out an intake sheet for if it's your puppy, that's fine. We can fill out and we can use that once you have filled that in for a case study, maybe probably not next week or the week after. And then you'll see how it all comes together. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Amazing. Danielle?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Back on the lethargy thing. Just wanted to question because my husband's had intermittent lethargy where he feels like, and it's exactly how you're describing it in terms of fatigue. And I asked him this question that you like to frame it how you said it. And he said, it feels like my legs want to collapse out from under me. So he's not like, he said it's not fatigue as in like I'm burnt out. It's like I just like feel like I want to collapse in a sense, but he's got energy. And so
Yeah.
I said, well, like, and he's so pitta in the sense of how he processes things mentally and, you know, all the things. And he's like gone down the path of naturopaths and yada, yada, yada. And he's at the point where he's so defeated because nothing is working. And he's like now becoming a little bit open to Ayurveda. He's like, oh, maybe this is like a mental or emotional thing. And I was like, what if it was? Like, what would that mean for you? Like, and he's like, I asked him yesterday if he could associate like an emotion with that. And the first thing that came up to him was fear. And he does have a lot of suppression of emotions. So if that's like in saying that, because he's got that dense, heavy, like lethargy is like associated with dense, like heavy, attributes. Would I be then giving him things to lighten or the opposite effect within the mind? Because you mentioned how sometimes it can be manifested through the mind.
Absolutely. So you would do it as a combination uh, protocol, including uh, herbals and also, need to do a full intake, right? Because like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
possibly multiple. Fear is Vata, by the way, guys. So Vata and fear. The opposite to uh, fear is faith, according to Ayurveda, or at least to Dr. Mark Halpern, who's one of my teachers. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think about that, like having faith can, they can't coexist, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at that, and it is quite true. Whatever faith means to you. But what I would also do is you'd need to do a multi-level protocol. So sometimes you might work with something in the digestion system that's working on Vata, or you might work with something that is like lethargy is obviously kapha related and in the mind. Then you'd want to ask a series of questions. We haven't done the psychology module yet,
Yeah,
but you'll see like adding in mantras that remove avoidance, and obviously you got to work with something that he's willing to work with, making sure
yeah,
the circulation is there, looking at what in life he is avoiding, and overcoming that avoidance,
yeah,
what is stuck and why, what is getting in the way right now, what is something, so there's a lot of things that you could ask in around
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes rest is needed, but the right type of rest.
Yeah.
And and sometimes like shaking, it could be like getting on one of those vibrational machines and just letting it all shake out. There could be a muscular issue going on. It could be time of life and testosterone and
Yeah.
hormones always. So
Yeah.
all of these things need to be looked at, and are not uncommon, especially if he has, he's got pitta in the mind. So there is a degree of burnout. And so how do you rebuild the ojas? What is his armor like? All of these questions need to be
Yeah.
considered, and do get considered um, in the review. I'm going to switch over. Um, and if unless anyone has any other questions, we'll come back to this and look at our intake form, because where all of this is going is I'm going to give you the charting that you'll do. You don't have it yet because we haven't even done like a demo intake. All right. So we're getting a foundational wisdom of Ayurveda, and we're learning the pathology of it. And then we're going to do an intake and start to begin to see what questions we ask, why we're asking them, and where this is leading to. So this is all going to be available to you. You can kind of start to see the different doshas. Pitta is mostly burning, right? And yellow. Kapha is always, swollen and larger and an increase. And you can kind of see here that there is this like and the itis is a pitta, like not always, but often. And so you start to see that there is a pattern here that everything is following. And this wisdom becomes easier to understand because you're following the pattern. I'm really excited for the next module because we start to really do look at the qualities in the physical body for the understanding the prakriti, and looking at long term and looking at short term, looking at symptoms through what we're observing and what is manifesting in individuals, Vikriti, Prakriti, and Vikriti. So all of this is here for you to use. And now I'm going to just switch over to, gosh, let's see, my desktop. And let's see if I can get this to come up. Oh, there everything is. I had to scroll. Um, so now we're going to go into this. Maybe stop share, bring it up. We're going to look at the intake. Who's done the intake? Okay. I will show you where it lives.
Do you want us to download a copy now, Jasmine?
I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the screen, and I think it might distract everyone going into the modules to get it. But if it's easy for you, you can. It's under the first module, or it's on the Facebook page if that is easier for you. I'm just bringing this up. And you, as part of this course, you get a intake with myself or Helena, and this is not a what do you say? Like it's not a full Ayurvedic consultation. What it is it is there for you to understand, and we're going to do one in class. So Hami and I are going to role play, and you're going to basically see how we do an intake and how you can do an intake with
This
this
is
form.
about who you
And with that, you'll be able to use it. So, and understand like how do you ask the questions? What do you do? And then you'll have to do like many yourselves as well and submit one. So that is one of the tasks that you'll need to do. And now I hope my share screen. Okay. Hi, Hami. Look at you. You look so good. This right here is the portal, obviously. This is your learning management system where all of our classes are. Where this intake is right now, and I'm going to put it in a couple of different places so it's easy for you to pull, is right now it's here under Module 1, the personal Ayurvedic student client intake. So this is how you go in and you pull it off, you download it, and you can use this form. So it is a PDF intake form. This form might change in a little bit because we're changing over to a new system that's all going to be online. So when you do your internship, you'll each have your own portal. Of course, you're welcome to change this over time, but while you're in class with us, you'll be using this form. And the reason why is because you'll use this as a way for us to review. So every person you see, you will be reviewed, and that will come into your hours of clinical intake. But essentially here, why I'm showing this to you now, who hasn't seen this, by the way? Anyone not seen this? No. All right. So you can use this with your clients now. We'll have that you're a student on here and that everyone is reviewed. And then here you've got all of the information that you need. You know, knowing their occupation is important. Knowing how many hours they work is important. Everything on this form is important, and it tells you something about them that that you need to know and take into consideration. If somebody's occupation is CEO and they're working 80 hours a week, and they're coming to you for burnout, well, hello. Right? So, you're getting information, your emergency contact, informed consent, remembering that we are not medical practitioners, and some things may be under that control with your medical practitioner, and so that's an important aspect of that. We have the financial policy agreement here, cancellation schedule, what to expect for your first visit, and that's all in there. Then we go into the client presentation and medical history. So, why and how many, this is a really big question that you like to ask, is like, why are they here? What is presenting? What do they want support with? Like, even though you might find something else, knowing what they want from you is important in helping you understand how to support them, but then also gives you a lot of insight. We're looking at the duration of symptoms. How long has it been going on? Has it been going on their entire life, which is more of a Prakriti understanding? Is it, something that is been going on for a couple of weeks, a couple of years? Where are they with the duration of these symptoms? How are these concerns affecting the daily life? Letting them go on there. Previous medical or surgical history. Then you've got your medications. We never ever, and obviously we never ever take someone off medication. That is not our role. We don't suggest it. We refer them to their doctor. We let their doctor do that. We do not do that. But it's important for us to know what medications they're on. Sometimes they might say they don't have any symptoms or they don't have a problem, but then they're taking medication, for blood pressure. I'm like, well, you didn't mention that blood pressure was an issue, right? Well, it's not because I'm taking medication, but it is because they're taking medication, right? So, that's important to understand. And level two, we go more into understanding what these things are. It's just more of a general knowledge in level one, and an acknowledgement. So, you'll learn that more over time. Any allergies or sensitivities and associated symptoms, current healthcare practitioners, that's always insightful too. People forget what's wrong with them. And they don't actually remember until like they're like, oh, like I have a mental health practitioner. Oh yeah, I have, anxiety, but they don't put that down, right? So it's like it's giving you information. The next part of the intake, right? And this is where we start to see some of that charting and what's coming up. And we've got appetite. So appetite, it goes to what? Goes to Agni, right? So we're looking at their Agni, and we're looking at where their Agni is. And digestion is the same as well. And maybe their Ojas and the Ama's hungry, right? So here where we start to understand, looking at all of these things are important. So we put in the Vikriti and the Prakriti. And Vikriti is what? Is it short term or is it long term?
It's long term. Oh, sorry, it's short term. It's the imbalance.
Correct. Yep. And then Prakriti is long term, right? So this is, we look at this and we prefer to eat frequently, but my hunger level is variable and I often forget to eat. What is that? Variable. It's Vata, right? So each one of these is relating to Vata, Pitta, Kapha as it is going to their dosha. I have a strong appetite. Who has a strong appetite? Pitta, right? And then I prefer to eat 2 to 3 days, but can go without eating. So all of this right here is kapha. We look at this from a long-term, short-term, or not an issue. They can tick multiple too, because they can have multiple. If they're multiple, it's also vata. So keep that in mind. Then we go into more around the appetite questions. We go into digestion questions. We go into elimination questions. So we're really looking at each one of these and looking at it in detail. I'm just going to check the time because my phone has, where are we at? 11:21. Okay. So 9 minutes. Yeah, perfect. And so here we go into weight, we go into body temperature, we go into sleep. We look at the skin. We do, then we kind of like tally it up, and we'll show you how to do this when we go into it. But right now, I just wanted to familiarize you with this form. We will do an intake. Hamina will do an intake together, and do a role play so that you can see how this form is used with your clients. You do have them fill them out first, right? And then you review it with them and go over it step by step, because sometimes as you do it, sometimes it won't be filled out completely. It gives you that awareness of what's happening. So it becomes this is one of the most powerful tools of our practice, right? So lifestyle, nutrition and habits, the exercise, the duration, how it makes them feel. They might be like, yeah, I like to run marathons, but I'm exhausted all the time. Well, let's take a look at that. Hours they work per week, their emotional health. So rate the stress level, list any previous or current stresses in your life. And you talk about that with your client. Then their mental and emotional history, and you'll learn in the psychology chapter or module about worry and overwhelm, irritable, or becoming reclusive. Like each relates to Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and we look at it from a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective. Has that always been the case? Well, no. When I was younger, I never got overwhelmed, and I always felt like I had the ability to take on the world and rise to the challenge. Well, okay, what's happened for that to change? Let's take a look at that. And we'll look at decision making, you know, are you pitta and can make a decision, but with new information change? Or are you kapha, you're going to make a decision, and you're easygoing about that decision, but then may not like the change. And then with the vata, they're like, can't make a decision, right? So you've got all of these, you look at them from long term, short term. And again, with projects and completion of projects, a very good indicator. Feeling creative and juice for life, like that. Is there lethargy, or are you calm, or are you a cheerleader? Learning all about this in psychology, so don't get overwhelmed that you don't know the answer to this, but it's usually vata, pitta, kapha, and we're looking at each one of those and each individual. We'll teach you how to tally everything up here. And then we also come back down and we kind of do a review, looking at these emotional aspects of the client: worry, anxiety, overwhelm, self-destructiveness, anger, resentment, critical and blaming, intense lethargy, melancholy, depression, right? So is it frequent, and how intense is it? And we usually say, if there's a buffer, say, are we going to look at this and put it as an RMD line? And work with this client for these things, or is it just not too frequent and not too intense enough for us to look at yet? So we'll be able to use that charting. Goes down for stubbornness, sadness, helplessness, confusion, brain fog. So here we list any self-care practices that they already do, because we don't want to give them a self-care practice that they already have. Nutrition, we look at Agni. We look at the time of day and like what their flow looks like. And again, from a digestive system, we look at all of these things: excessive gas, belching, acid reflux, burning and digestion, nausea, sleepy after eating, heaviness after eating, bloated after eating, higher abdominal. So these are all of the things that we look at, again, from a frequency and an intensity standpoint. And I think that is, a severe discomfort we're definitely going to look at. And I think that's daily to several times a week we're definitely going to look at, because we could imagine that they would be impacting your life, right? If you had burning and digestion every day, that would be a massive impact on your life. So list any digestive systems, describe your bowel habits, get used to talking about, all the things we don't usually talk about: poo, sex, all the things that like are the taboo topics we actually talk about, because at the core of it's how we understand the health level of our body and our mind. We look at elimination, food particles in stool, diarrhea, rectal pain, blood in stool, heaviness after eating, mucus in stool. I had a conversation with someone about mucus in stool recently, and that's a kapha imbalance. What does it look like, right? It looks like a little like white-ish like residue, or basically mucus in your stool. And so we'll dissect elimination and bowel movements over time. And Andrea, do you have a question?
I did have a question, and I'm just wondering, it was just about the short term, long term, how to tick that. Do you want me to wait till tomorrow to ask that on the call?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, you just basically tick it like short term, long term. And then there's a prakriti and a vikriti tally. So you'll tally up all the short term, and then you'll tally up all the long term, and then you'll be able to understand a percentage based on. I'm going to teach you how to do this in the next module, but right now I just wanted to review our intake form with you. And so that you're prepared to fill it out yourselves, and B, to start seeing what kind of questions we're asking to get to those RMD lines that I reviewed with you today. Do you see now how we pull apart somebody's lifestyle, their symptoms, their eating, all of that to be able to apply like increases like and opposites bring balance. This is what we're doing. And you're looking at the habits and substances. People don't often like to write that down here. So when you're working with them individually, they might tell you, but they don't want to put it on paper. So just be prepared for that. And then support and relationships, their sexual health, their living situation, their self-pleasure, all of that comes into play. How they feel supported, all of that. And then we go into women's health. One of the differences, I think, of our program and other programs is that women's health isn't as closely looked at as obviously one of Harmony's key wisdoms, and she brings that into this course. And so she'll teach you how to really look at women's health in a way that is modern day and from our understanding, but also from the Ayurvedic wisdom. So lots of information on women's health here, and then the agreement. So this form is the first step in learning how to work with your clients. And your first goal is to fill this out for yourself. Have you guys all done that yet? No. Yeah. So I want you to go into module 1. I want you to pull this off. I want you to fill it in for yourself. There's instructions there on what to do. Then when you have your intake with either Helena or I, we will review this with you and go through it and ask questions. And the purpose is not for us to we will give you a short protocol, but it's not going to be a full protocol because obviously we'd be seeing all of you. It's more for you to understand how we would sit with you in intake and ask the questions. All right. So that information is all there. And this is the beginning. Once you've done this, there are going to be 3 other forms that you use to do intake of the Prakriti and the structural, the tongue, the Agni, the Ojas. But that's more in the next chapter, the next module. Right now, I want you to get familiar with this. We are layering on the pieces so that you can become practitioners and work with them one-on-one. So, any questions on this intake form? Can you see now how we would take some of the symptoms, which are possibly not just the mild, moderate, or transient. It's not just that, but there are going to be RMD lines that we take from this and fill into a chart. And we'll give you that chart. But right now, I just want you to see how we're piecing this together. Before we close, are there any other questions? Reminder, we have a 9:30 homework review tomorrow, or office hours. So we do have office hours every Wednesday at 9:30 for an hour. You can just pop in and ask your question. I'll take the questions in order that you show up. If you all show up at 9:30, then we'll draw straws. But often when people are asking the questions, you'll learn from it. Have fun filling this out, guys. Be really, really honest with yourself. It's the first step in self-care.
Amazing. And I just want to add, if you feel overwhelmed with seeing everything put on paper, please don't, because we are holding your hand the whole way through this program. And this is sort of like we're just putting everything out there so you can see where you're getting to and why we're teaching you all of the intricate Sanskrit and all of the intricate aspects of Ayurvedic pathology and philosophy, like how it all starts to work together. But we're only, like a third of the way. So,
yes.
Amazing.
Amazing. Just remember, all of this wisdom is within you. Christy, were you going to say something?
Yeah, just with the short-term and long-term boxes.
Yeah.
Short term is that like a year, 6 months,
Yeah, it could be
3
3 weeks.
months,
It could be 3 weeks.
3
Short term is
weeks?
anything
Yeah.
that is presenting usually within the last 4 weeks, and it could be
Okay.
an issue over I would say a good, like it could be an ongoing issue. Long term is more like I was born with it. I've always had a
Okay.
constitution towards it. Um,
Okay.
uh, and like it could be like say like for pitta, I have a pitta appetite. I'm hungry. I digest. Like I've always had a strong appetite. I was born with that strong appetite. But you know what? Now I don't. I've all of a sudden
Mhm.
I no longer have an appetite. So I am long-term Pitta, short-term Vata.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And if they're both short and long term, we just go long term and that's it.
No,
Like you
you
don't
tick
tick
both.
both.
You do tick both boxes. Yep.
Tick both.
Tick both. Yep. So you tick both because you've got a Prakriti and you have a Vikriti, and we want to understand both. If it hasn't been long-term, it hasn't been long-term, right? And you could tick both short-term and long-term. I'm going to say that again. You can tick both short term and long term. It's now and it's long term.
So that we can add the scores up at the bottom.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now I'm less when you sit with your client, they're going to give this to you. When they sit with your client, you're going to feel this in yourself as well of what they've told you. They might not understand it, but you do, and so you do that with them. Okay. Amazing. Thank you guys. This will all come together. I truly know that it will. And print off this document, print them both off, fill them both in, and let this be a guide. We've got another 2 weeks on this module to review, to chart, to really like understand it. So Helen's going to take you through the rhythms and the seasons next week. And now you've got these tools and you're starting to review. So the document I showed you today is a document that you will use to review all the information we've already covered. That is the key kind of like foundational information to understanding where we're going and to learn the basics, and very much the basics. There's so much more, right? But this is just the basics, and it'll become such second wisdom to you that you'll be like, yeah, I get it. Because it is simple. Go back to the gunas, go back to the elements, go back to the doshas, and again and again and again. I see all the light in all of you. Namaste, friends. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Mhm.